so much stuff floating around. I don't know, people trying to say they wasn't together.
Basically was trying to get into a threesome.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of Kay and Manny. As you already know, I'm the one they call Manny, and we thank you for tuning in to this throwback episode. Now, we're going to take it all the way back to the Lady K Chat podcast where I was a guest, and the episode is called Stand Your Ground. And be glad you came here because this was a good episode. Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back with your favorite host and co-host, Lady Kay and Manny. And today we came back together so we can talk about standing your ground. And where are you standing your ground at? In a relationship. Now, Manny, when you hear those keywords, standing your ground in a relationship, what does that mean to you?
Standing your ground, to me, it basically lets you know where the boundaries are laid upon, where everything is being, the standards and practices of a relationship. And that doesn't necessarily being mean to your partner. It's just believing who you are and standing up for what you believe in and making sure, again, those boundaries are set in place.
Absolutely. And Manny, everything that you just have said, I'm in agreement with that. But I also have to piggyback and say it is also great for you to stand your ground in a relationship so you do not lose yourself. Because I see this happening to a lot of women. We get so caught up into our spouse and sometimes even caught up into the kids. And then when you're doing all that for everybody, you're like, well, what about me? And then you feel out of place. So you don't want that feeling. So you want to make sure, like Manny said, you have boundaries because that is one of the key things to implement in a healthy relationship. Everything that we're presenting is healthy. What's healthy? Because we already know we're probably used to dysfunction. You don't need dysfunction. Dysfunction don't help your relationship grow. And to be honest, this is probably one of the number one causes why some people can't even have a successful relationship because they won't allow their ego to settle so they can hear some great information knowing, okay, we want a successful relationship, so we're going to have to put some work in it and we're going to have to set some boundaries. So boundaries, again, that's very healthy for the relationships. But I want to say this is the number one killer. Oh my gosh, the number one killer in relationships, we're going to talk about that first so you can avoid doing this, is actually entitlements. What you say, Manny?
Yeah. For those who don't know me that well, entitled people really is a pet peeve of mine. Entitlement is a pet peeve of mine. And people who are entitled, I tend to disregard and pretend they're not there because, again, that's a trigger for me. Ooh. People who feel entitled and people who, feel like they're, better than others. Because I've been told as a kid by my mom, shout out to you if you're watching this, you're no better than the next guy.
Right.
You may have more or they may have more, but as far as being equal, you're going to be equal to that person because you're no better than them.
Absolutely. I definitely feel you on that one, but I'm actually going to switch gears and I'm going to talk about people feel that they also are entitled to your electronic devices. And the only key thing that they really want the password. I don't know why that's so big. Me personally, I never experienced that. I didn't feel I have to have the need to go in your phone to find something that I probably don't want to know. Because guess what? When you go snooping, you're gonna find something. And there's other ways, that you can listen to your intuition. But that demanding, no. Let me tell you something. Your significant other is a human being. They're their own individual. Right. And to be honest, they don't have to do anything. However, because they made a choice and to have a commitment with you, they're going to say, hey, I'm going to invite you into my space, but you're not going to jump in my space. See, there's a difference. So you have to know when that person is opening the invitation. And then that's when you get your spotlight. You don't just do this by indulging and then walking over. It doesn't work like that. That's not nice, and that's not playing healthy, because that kind of feels like, you're bringing in past experience from a relationship, and that's probably why you have that taught behavior, or it can be a behavior that you learn in your household. So when you meet someone that's, put their foot down and you think they're crazy, no, they're saying, hey, this is my space. And right now you don't have access. So we're gonna start off in small increments. But yes, like I said, the entitlement to the cell phone passwords, no. What's your take on that, Manny?
Um, well, first and foremost, I have nothing to hide when it comes to me and my better half.
I understand that.
We're very open. We're sometimes full of fault, but we're very open with each other, and we know that we're not going to do anything crazy within our relationship. But we all know that, once again, here comes that word, boundaries. She knows not to come to me and say, "Let me look at let me look at the phone," and I'm not going to look at her and say, "Who? Let me see your phone." No, we're not doing that.
Right.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that in 2020 or any year. And I'm gonna be I'm gonna be honest with you, fellas. Stop trying to figure out who's on your girl, who's on your phone. That's disrespectful. And ladies, don't do that either.
Right.
Simply, look, don't do that.
Right. And so we talked about the mobile, I'm sorry, we talked about the electronic devices. I want to say this, that I think this is childish. A woman probably don't know it is, but when you go
Mhm.
into your man's space and you start planting little things that's yours inside his house to test him, let me tell you something. That right there should not be a test. That's to test a little boy. Okay?
That's true.
When you're dealing with a grown man and you're a woman man, you're going to sit down and have conversations and allow that person to say, "Hey, X, Y, and Z. Hey babe, yes, I made that jewelry space for you." You see what I'm saying? That's like I said before, you gotta wait to that open invitation. So it is better for that person to say, "Hey, you can put your toothbrush here. Oh, I had a drawer for you where you can put your things in." That right there, because you made that person feel so comfortable with no pressure, they did it because they wanted. Unlike the other things, that's so unnecessary, because when you're planting stuff, he gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, where is she playing these type of games?" And then that's a battle, and that's something that you really don't want to mix yourself into, because then it's a constant play. When is the real there? You know what I'm saying? Because you're too busy playing
Right.
games with one another. And it's so sad that people today in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they're still doing that. And it's like, my man, when you gonna grow up? Girl, when you gonna grow up? You got to identify that little boy and that little girl in you, and you gotta work on it. You gotta know when to suppress it. Okay? So many people are out here acting childlike, but they want grown folks' businesses. They want grown folks' conversations. They want grown folks' relationship, but you're not implementing that. Whatever you desire, you have to implement. So I'm just saying, if you want things different, you have to change different. Women, you have to think different. Allow him to be him. And this is another thing that also puts a damper on relationship. And this is why you have to stand your ground, because people have unrealistic expectations. Oh, Manny,
Right.
what you say about that?
I can speak a lot about the unrealistic expectations, because I had a friend who almost went through a divorce with with his wife because of unrealistic expectations. But not to put his business out there or anything like that. Sorry if you're listening, but it's just more of, you have to understand who your partner is and not hold them to this high pedestal where you want them to act this way because you saw someone else do it, or someone else in a previous relationship did it. You
Right.
just got to understand that that person is going to be different. You can't just say, "Oh, I want this, 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 and this." Like, for example, I hear way too many guys say, "I want a woman who can cook." Number one, can you cook? Can you boil water? Can you put heat and put meat on the pan and make a steak out of it? And if the answer is no to any of those questions, then you should not expect your woman to cook for you when you can't cook your damn self.
Absolutely.
Again, and this is just me, I know how to cook and I learned how to cook, so I don't have to expect my soon-to-be wife or whoever she may be to cook for me. I can do it myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That makes a lot of sense to me, and you are hitting some key points. And I also want to piggyback with the unrealistic expectations. I want to talk about when it's night time and we're trying to do adult things, and there are some unrealistic expectations in that because you expect her to swing from the chandelier when after she done dealt with your kids all day, worked her own job and cooked and cleaned, and then you just came
Wait.
home. Yes, I did. You just came home and all you did was sat in front of the TV and turn the clicker on. Yes, I said clicker. And then on top of that, she done did everything. So now you're expected, and she's looking at you, my man. Are you serious? Well, I'm tired. I'm tired too. Don't bring that attitude into the bedroom. And what I mean, bring that attitude into the bedroom is meaning that you're expecting her to do all these amazing things, but you did not even contribute once you came into the door because you made yourself comfortable. One thing I have to tell you, man, if you're looking for her to get to that route with you at the end of the night, you got to give her intimacy to let her know that you are into her. We need that. That is a requirement for us. That moves us when our man take out the trash. It moves us when our man wash the dishes. It moves us when he say, hey, babe, let me take the kids and get them ready for bed. What? That is a stress reliever over us, depending on the age of the kids. Those babies are a lot, okay? Let me tell you something. I got a 5-year-old and he, Lord have mercy. He tears me up because I'd be so tired at the night dealing with him, and he's only one person. But fellas, again, my message to you is if that's what you want from your lady, again, you're not expecting, but she wants to give it to you willingly. You see that? The whole key thing me and Manny been saying, willingly. They just open you and they give you that space because they have a safe place with you, because they trust you. And they trust you because you are showing the actions that you care and you love for them. And that's what we need. So, ladies, if you're designing certain things for your man, you have to stand your ground. You have to implement those boundaries. You say, hey, don't step over. Don't be telling me no demand nothing. I'm a grown ass person. You speak to me like I'm a grown person. I'm not a child. And that's
And
part
also,
of the problem.
let me bring this also to the forefront as well.
Sure.
And I'm going to speak to the ladies, and I'm speaking from a male perspective as well. Ladies, understand this one. Understand this: when you're in a relationship, understand that there's two things that needs to happen. One, you have to set boundaries, like I said before,
Yeah.
and two, and this is very important, you have to understand what will be tolerated versus what is required. Like Kay said,
Mhm.
if you're going to, as you say, swing from the chandelier, you gotta bring you gotta have that required intimacy.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's a give and take. You're not just gonna take everything. I mean, come on. She's not gonna feel any, she's not gonna enjoy this. You may enjoy half of it because
Right.
she not enjoy any of it. So again, it's like you have to know what is required of you in this relationship versus what is tolerated. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if you just do things that are just tolerated, once you had enough of it and you press him over something, whereas, well, why do you keep doing that? Because I've been doing it for the last X amount of months or years.
Right.
You do it, you tolerating this, and all of a sudden you can't tolerate it anymore. It doesn't work like that. You have to stand. You have to stand your ground from day one, or the moment that he courts you, to say, "Hey, listen, this is what is required." You can't just say. You can't just say, "Well, I can deal with it." Okay, you can deal with it, but once you can't deal with it no more, you're gonna have to continue to deal with it because because that's something you tolerated for X amount of time. Not now. I mean, you have to make it a requirement. Like, for instance, my girl wants me to put the toilet seat down every single time I use it. And guess what? I put the toilet seat down as much, but it's just one of those things. And the second thing, my girl hates it when I use the air conditioning and it's like 70 degrees outside. Now, I'm a hot nature person. Let's be real. She hates it because I'm walking the house with a white bean and basketball shorts, and she's looking like Kenny from South Park.
She cold.
I mean, according to her, I'm not cold. She is.
Right.
So again, she set that requirement and saying, "Hey, listen, The AC can stay on, but it can't be at 70.
I hear that.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear
When
that.
I'm by myself, crank that sucker down to an icebox level. But
That's
when she
funny.
here, make it a tropical weather. So kind of, you know what I'm saying?
That's
But
funny.
the point is requirements versus tolerance.
I love that you brought that up, Manny. When you was breaking down the requirements, no, I'm sorry, it was the tolerance. And it
Yeah.
is so true. What you tolerate now, this is what's going to look like in the future. So if you do not nip it in the butt now, it's going to be a problem. That's like perfect example. There was a certain issue that arose between me and my man. It was nothing too big, but I really had to explain to him how I felt in a certain situation. And once I brought that to light to him, he said, okay, understood. So now that he's understand, now in the future, he's going to be more conscious about that because I brought that to his attention. Now, imagine I never said anything because sometimes we get into a point where I'm not going to say nothing. So you have to know when to speak up and when to humble yourself and be quiet. It is great duty to speak to them about some of the things that may bother you because you don't want that to escalate into something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Remember, the snowball just can keep getting bigger. And what happens, people, when they at that moment, they explode. And then when you're having an argument about putting the dishwasher into something, it goes crazy. We're like, well, wait a minute. Are we arguing about the dishwasher? No, that's all that stuff that's pent up inside that bothered her, and she just couldn't take it no more because she tolerated you. So, ladies, you have to look at him right now and say, "Can I tolerate it?" And then also, too, you have to set the tone. What do you want for yourself? Setting a tone. That's all part of standing your ground. Implementing what you want. You know, can we serve one another in these areas? And if it's a no, then you need to walk away from the relationship. Because like Manny said, it's all about give and take. What are you giving and taking? If one person's constantly giving, they're not going to feel appreciated after a while. Because like I'm giving, I need some life up to me too. Can you give me life? Can you breathe into me? Can you uplift me? Can you encourage me? And the answer is no, then why are you in a relationship? And I also realized too, there's a lot of selfish people in relationship. They don't even want the relationship. They just want the title. But they forget that title comes with some things. So if you're not ready for it, move out her way. Especially a woman who knows what she wants. And she knows she wants marriage and you know you just want to play, move out her way. Ladies, shut the door. You see, it was action upon action. And what happened? That person straight away.
And fellas, same thing applies to y'all. If you see something that was a little bit off kilter with your girl, and obviously there's no boundaries there, walk away.
Right.
Well, just turn around and walk the other direction.
Absolutely. Now, Manny, let's talk about
the cops called on you, but yes, walk away.
Absolutely. Now, Manny, let's talk about beliefs. And as far as belief, the number one thing to me that's so important, I think a lot of people, religious belief plays a big, toll of their life. So you have to ask yourself, if this person is equally yoked with me in my same religion belief, and also too, you got to ask yourself, well, is that something that means a lot to me or a little to me? Because if it means a lot to you, again, you're unequally yoked and it's not going to work. But if it means a little bit to you, I honestly think that you're going to have to customize some things because you might bump heads because you are serving two different gods. Or I want to say this. How about this, right? Because it depends what the religion is. You're serving one God, but both the books that you are reading in to feed yourself are giving two different things. To me, I think that brings confusion. So I wouldn't do that for a person like me. But if that's you, then that's on you because again, you are sending your ground to where I'm cool with. But you also got to understand some stuff comes with the territory. You just have to be ready to accept it. What's your take, Manny?
It goes back to what is required and what is tolerated to me, at least. Because here's the thing. I've said this ever since I started dating when I was a teenager. The number one thing she has to be is a Christian. She can't be Muslim. She can't be Buddhist. I mean, no disrespect to any of those religions, that's just not aligned with my own principles.
Right.
Now, granted, I understand that some people may align with their principles along with their own principles and just coexist. That's
Right.
fine. That's totally good for you if you're able to tolerate that. But again, that is something where I know in my mind that when you have um, a whole family who has one religion, and that's the religion that you follow. Not saying that you can't learn from other religions, but I'm saying if that's the definitive religion that you want to follow, then you have to have somebody that's equally yoked. You can't just have two people going separate directions. In other
Right.
words, if you go to church every Sunday and your better half pray 5 times a day to the east, that's different. Now, if you're able to coincide with that, cool, do you. But again, that could cause friction
Right.
between the two because you got two different deities involved. You have God and you have Allah, or you have Confucius or whoever. All I'm saying is when you're dealing with something like that, you have to be very, very careful dealing with that because again, that can cause problems down the road. It may seem cool now, but down the road, it could blow up in your face.
Right. So I want to piggyback what you said. God has different names. Like Manny said, they call him so many different names, but it's
Right.
not about what they call him. It's about how they are distributed in their belief, how they see God. So you might not agree with something, and you got to really be honest with yourself. Is this something that I can really handle? So, you ponder about that and, you want to make sure that, you're in the right relationship, and this is if you
Mhm.
want something substantial because it's like at the end of the day, like, you would like somebody to grow old with, somebody to share memories with. And I think that's a great and that's an amazing thing. If you don't want that, that's okay. But this is for the people who do. So you have to, again, put yourself in a space to create healthy ways that works for you and work for your significant other because then you complement one another and that's how that happens. So my next thing I want to touch base on about beliefs, I believe you should be with someone who matches your emotional intelligence. Baby,
Mm.
baby, let me tell you something. And I knew this wasn't going nowhere, but this is a primary example. Don't do it to yourself. I met a gentleman, and we actually briefly dated. Now, when you look at him physically, oh my God, he has a body of a goddess. Oh my God, and I'm like, ooh, beautiful. But when he opened his mouth, I'm like, oh,
Uh,
I couldn't do it. Oh, and I hung out with him twice.
that's where it stops.
Wait, hold on. The first time I said, okay, I'm gonna give him a chance. The second time I knew for a fact, I was like, no. But here's the thing, we both knew, and it wasn't that we didn't like one another. He was a great guy, but he was not the guy for me. I know in order for you to stimulate me, I need to have those conversations. There have to be some type of stimulation here, not down there.
Mm.
That's all I'm saying. And
I
that's all I'm
totally
gonna say about emotional intelligence. What about you, Manny?
I agree. I always say if I can't hold a conversation with somebody, I'm just not gonna deal with you. I mean, you can be you can look like any female out there or any Instagram model chick that went to Colombia and got everything done from top to bottom. But if you can't hold a conversation, if you can't put two words together, and you don't know what two and two equals, I no, I'm not gonna talk to you. I'm
I'm
sorry.
mad that you said
Good
that.
to look, you good to look at, but it's far, but that's where it stops. Okay, you're good to look at. Don't say nothing. Just don't talk. Just stand there and look pretty. Take selfies with your homegirl. Say I love you with and y'all in Tulum and shit. And don't do that.
That's
Don't
funny.
speak.
That is funny. Right. Don't speak. And I've seen a couple of people do that. But we
I've seen
had
a
an
couple of
amazing
people in
time.
Tulum this past weekend. Don't ask me why, but they are. But go
Right.
ahead.
Right. But I was just going to say, Manny, we've been having an amazing time, but we're running out of time. But my closing remarks is again, do not lose yourself in the relationship. And this is the purpose why you need and must stand your ground. Do you have any
Right.
closing words, Manny?
Set boundaries. It's as easy as it is. That's as plain as I can make it. Set boundaries, because I guarantee you, when you do set boundaries, a lot of the confusion, a lot of the requirements will be set, so you know where to go from here on out. So set
Absolutely.
boundaries.
Absolutely. So, everyone, I would like to thank you for watching. Continue to watch us more. We're on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and our Wednesday walks come on at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can follow us at the Lady K Chat Podcast on IG, YouTube, and Facebook. And you can always visit our website for our products and services at www.ladykenterprises.com, and K is spelled Kay. And everyone, you have a great night.
Lady K.